You see a human sitting calmly. But don't let that fool you. There's a breaking point for everyone. In the vast auditorium, tiered rows of alien students observed, their eyes shining with a cocktail of curiosity and something far colder, clinical, almost predatory. Under sterile lights and the steady whir of observation drones, the human subject was laid bare, shirtless, bruised, but very much awake. His name was Travis Cole. Right now, every eye in that room, some with more than two, was waiting for him to shatter. This species doesn't handle nerve trauma well, the instructor intoned. Kithel, lean-skinned, almost translucent, with slitted pupils and a voice like dry leaves, adjusted a gleaming probe. He wasn't just talking to the class, he was performing. Watch closely. Humans are fragile. Their tolerance is primitive. Travis blinked, lips quirking up into a smirk. Careful, he drawled. Steady. Eyes unblinking. You're about to learn something. A faint ripple passed through Kithel's features, irritation. Maybe surprise, but he pressed on, motioning to the neural lance. The device looked almost delicate, but every student in the room knew what it could do. A slender rod, trailing wires, connected to a rack of BOF feedback monitors. The class leaned in, notepads out, bioscanners flickering to life. Kithel touched the probe to a spot just beneath Travis's clavicle, a nerve-rich area in most humanoid species. The lance vibrated. Electrodes embedded in Travis's skin flickered with electrical data. His shoulder muscles twitched, but he didn't so much as flinch. Didn't even blink. Just held Kithel's gaze, calm as a statue. I'm waiting, Travis said, almost bored. A murmur swept through the class. KD, the tech student on monitor duty, squinted at the readings. Full nerve activation. Cortical acknowledgement. He's feeling it. Travis grinned. Sure am. It tickles. Kithel's lips thinned. He switched out the probe for another, thicker one. It hummed as it extended a fine needle, hunting for the tibial nerve in Travis's lower leg. When it broke skin, his whole leg jerked. Reflex. Not conscious response, but Travis simply let out a sharp breath. Eyes wandering up to the ceiling as if watching paint dry. Kithel's irritation deepened. Is there an error in the restraint field? He asked sharply. No error, confirmed the tech at the console. Vitals are on point. He's feeling everything. The room grew quiet, the focus shifting away from the instruments and onto Travis himself. He turned his head lazily toward the students. This your idea of med school? I've had worse stepping on Legos. Kithel's composure was faltering. We are not here to amuse. Good, Travis said, eyes gleaming. You're not very good at it. Kithel stepped closer. State your designation. Name's Travis. Travis Cole. United North American Alliance. Mining engineer. Volster 9. And unless your next move is better than acupuncture with a side of tasing, you're wasting everyone's time. Kithel faced the class. Rare genetic abnormality. Humans with deficient nociception do exist. That must be it. I'm not missing pain receptors. Genius. Travis shot back. I just don't panic over every zap and prick like a scared cat. Then we escalate. 2 medical drones descended from the ceiling. One carried a high-frequency dermal drill, used to cut through tough hides. The other, a blunt force impactor, designed to simulate non-lethal trauma for healing studies. This next phase is not for demonstration, Kithel told the class, his voice colder. It is for verification. We will observe skeletal response, vascular integrity, behavioral threshold. Travis rolled his eyes, muttering, now we're talking. The impactor struck first. There was a deep, resonant thud as it hit Travis's upper thigh. His leg spasmed, muscle reflex contracting violently. Pain flickered across his face for a split second, then he barked out a laugh. You keep that up, you're going to bruise the femur. Exactly the point, Kithel replied, gesturing for the drill. It hovered over Travis's right shoulder, winding softly. and then punctured down into muscle. Blood welled. Travis's jaw tightened, breath catching for a moment. But he stayed quiet. Kithel pointed at the monitors. Severe nociceptive activation. Muscle tearing. Bleeding. Equivalent pain to third-degree thermal trauma. Travis forced a grin. His voice strained but clear. I'd ask for a lollipop after this. But I don't think you folks do candy. The students were whispering now. Unsettled. One tentatively raised a hand. Instructor Kithel, what does this imply about our pain threshold assessments? It implies, Kithel answered slowly, that further data is needed. Travis chuckled. Quieter now. You really built a whole class around how easy humans are to break. Kithel ignored him. Flicking switches on the monitor. Administer sedative. We begin internal testing. No thanks, Travis said. The hint of defiance unwavering. You have no choice. You'd be surprised. The sedative went in through his fore. But the effect was slow. Noted by the technician with a frown. Travis didn't fight it. He closed his eyes. Breath steady as the waves of sleep washed over him. Just before he went under. He managed. Next time. Maybe buy a guide in first. Hours later. The students were gone. The lights in the theater dimmed to a low blue. Only the instructor and a handful of senior researchers remained. Running scan after scan. Biopsies. Neural recordings. The thoracic nerve map showed bright red spikes, pain. Stress. Trauma, but Travis never screamed. Never lost cognition until the sedative finally did its work. When he woke, his shoulder was heavily bandaged. Legs heavy and sore. And a dull ache thrummed through his ribs. He grimaced. Well, that sucked. Kithel approached. No longer smug. Holding a medical chart. Your physiology contradicts all our data. There is no known reason for your tolerance. Travis met his gaze. Maybe the reason is your studies are garbage. Kithel frowned. Pain is a survival mechanism. Its threshold marks a species' fragility. Yours is misleading. No, Travis said, wincing as he pushed himself upright. You just assume pain means weakness. You never asked what we do with it. Kithel studied him. And what do you do? Travis surveyed the remaining researchers. We go through it. That's the trick. Not because we like it. But because we have to. Pain doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. A researcher stepped forward. But your injuries would debilitate most sentients. They hurt. Believe me. Travis winced. More honestly this time. My shoulder's torn up. That leg's going to be purple tomorrow. I'll need therapy. Ice packs. Time. But I didn't scream. Not because it didn't hurt. But because screaming wouldn't change anything. Kithel held his gaze for a long beat. Then nodded to the class monitor. Class resumes tomorrow. As he turned to leave, Travis called after him. You planning around too? Kithel didn't reply. He murmured something to the assistant drone, prepare comparative scans. Double-check the restraint protocols. Left alone, Travis leaned back. Exhausted. But alert. Told you, he whispered. You're about to learn something. He didn't sleep that night. The theater's lights dimmed to simulate rest. But between the throbbing in his thigh, the stabbing pain in his ribs, and the ceaseless hum of the scanners, sleep was impossible. He spent hours testing his limits, rotating his injured shoulder, grimacing at the resistance, dragging his heavy leg, breathing shallow to avoid the sharp pain in his side. He didn't need a scanner to know, he had at least one cracked rib. At some point, a drone hovered close, attempting to inject a metabolic stabilizer. Travis shoved it away with his good arm. No. I want nothing that masks the pain. He muttered. You're all studying it. Right? Then let it speak. When the lights flickered back to full power, he was still awake. His body was a ledger of pain and injury. But when the next group entered, Travis was upright. The students filed in. Quiet now. Eyes darting. Nervous. Kithel entered, holding a fresh data sheet. Today's focus, he announced. is neurochemical analysis under duress. We will observe the long-term cognitive effects of untreated pain. Travis chuckled. Low and hoarse. You say that like it's going to take a while. You are not restrained today, Kithel said. Voice even. Travis blinked. Surprised. You trust me? No. Kithel replied. But I am learning how little trust factors into your behavior. He nodded to the corner, where another figure stepped forward, taller than the rest. Grey-blue skin. Deep-set eyes, Dr. Avental. The neurochemical specialist. Mr. Cole. Dr. Tal said. Her tone clinical. Your blood work shows stress hormones at systemic trauma levels. Travis nodded. Wouldn't be the first time. Your injuries are causing an inflammatory spiral. Swelling will increase. Pain will sharpen. Travis was already breathing shallowly. Each breath measured. Sounds about right. Dr. Tal turned to the class. This phase is for observation of breakdown, cognitive, emotional, physiological. Watch how the human deteriorates. Note how quickly rationality fades. Let's see if you're right, Travis said. The hours that followed were long and excruciating. Scanners mapped every twitch, every wince. They asked him to sit, stand, crouch. Each movement wrung out more sweat, more effort. When a student asked about the pain scale, Travis, sweat pooling at his neck, explained. Pain's got flavors. Right now, I'm tasting all of them. Why endure this? One student finally asked. Why not request treatment? Sometimes you don't get a choice. Travis replied. In the mines, you break a leg 3 levels down. You don't scream for a medic. You get to the lift. Or you die there. But this isn't survival. Kithel interjected. You could request aid and teach your class that humans fold at the first challenge. Travis locked eyes with him. Not a chance. A different kind of murmur rippled through the room. Respect. Maybe. Or something like it. Then came the neural test. A full scan of his brain activity while exposed to stress-inducing stimuli, sounds of trauma, simulated battlefield cries, flickers of bright light and sudden cold. The class watched the monitor, expecting spikes of distress. Instead, they found something unexpected. Dr. Tal leaned in. Look at his prefrontal cortex. He's reframing the pain. Katie frowned. He's redirecting focus. Compartmentalizing. That's not natural. That's learned. Travis, voice ragged, still managed a hint of humor. We call it grit. You either learn it, or you don't come back. But why laugh? Dr. Tal pressed. Why act amused when you're injured? It helps, Travis said. Not just me. The people watching, too. You ever worked somewhere morale keeps you alive? A student raised a hand. Wouldn't silence be more efficient? Maybe for some species. Travis answered. Us? We joke when we're scared. Takes the teeth out of it. Dr. Tal studied him. Adjusted the monitor. He's not lying. The limbic system dampens when humor is triggered. Fascinating. That afternoon, Travis finally let them scan his ribs. The fracture was hairline. As he'd suspected. No wraps. Just rest. They offered a sedative. He refused. Instead, they gave him water, nutrient gel, and time. For the first time since his capture, he was allowed to rest on a surface that wasn't cold metal. They brought in a padded cot. A concession for your cooperation, Kithel said. Stiffly. Travis nodded. Thanks. Don't worry. I still don't like you. Kithel almost smiled. Good. I wouldn't trust you if you did. Later, as the day cycled into what passed for night in the medical complex, the rest of the students filtered out, and the hum of activity faded. Travis lay on the cot, staring at the ceiling's diffuse, shifting glow. The pain was always there, a steady, pulsing undercurrent, but it had become a companion, a familiar reminder that he was still himself. Not just a case study or a data point. He heard footsteps and saw Dr. Dahl re-enter. Alone this time. She carried her ever-present tablet. Though her posture was less rigid, her eyes searching. "There are records," she began quietly, "of your kind enduring unspeakable pain, amputations without anesthetic, crawling miles on shattered limbs, surviving frostbite that blackened skin. Why keep going? Why not evolve away from it?" Travis's reply came softly, stripped of bravado. "We never had that luxury. We didn't evolve in peace. Everything that could hurt us did. Hunger, cold, predators. All we had was stubbornness and fire. So we learned to keep moving, even when it hurt. That's what humans do." Tal looked away, silent for a beat. "You're not what we expected." Travis gave a lopsided smile. "I'm not even the best of us. I'm just the one you grabbed." She left without another word. That night, for the first time, Travis was granted something like privacy. A medical drone still lingered in the corner, silently tracking his vitals. But the restraints were gone. The lights low. He lay on his side, battered and sore, shoulder immobilized, ribs aching with every breath, but breathing easier. Not because the pain was gone, it wasn't, but because for the first time since his ordeal began, they'd stopped calling him weak. By the fourth day, Travis was limping. His thigh was now a deep purple, swollen from the impactor's strike. And walking was a slow, careful process. His shoulder ached constantly, and every cough sent a fresh spike of pain through his side. He didn't bother hiding his injuries. When Kithel and Dr. Tal arrived that morning, they found him pacing in careful circles near his cot, dragging his leg. Breath shallow but eyes clear. Dr. Tal muttered, "You should be using a crutch." Travis grinned wearily. "Yeah. And I should be home, not stuck here as the galaxy's weirdest anatomy lesson. Guess we're all dealing with disappointments." Kithel didn't argue. Instead, he gestured to the observation deck, where the students were already assembled. "Today, we discuss limits." Travis cocked an eyebrow. "Thought we covered that. Turns out mine are higher than you expected." "Physical limits?" "Yes," Kithel replied. "But there are others. Decision-making, emotional stability, risk tolerance." "You want to know when I break?" Travis faced the class, rolling his sore shoulder. Kithel nodded. Dr. Tal activated a large holo screen that came to life with grainy archival footage, clips from Earth's most brutal disasters and crises, medics holding arteries shut with bare hands, climbers hacking through ice with frost-bitten fingers, people pulling survivors from rubble despite shattered bones. Each scene painted a picture of humans making impossible choices under unimaginable pain. "You've studied us," Travis said, watching the montage. "But you didn't believe your own data, did you?" Kithel crossed his arms. "Survival is usually reactive. But these are choices made in pain. That does not fit our models." "That's where you're wrong." Travis eased himself onto the cot, bracing for the ache. "Pain isn't the obstacle, it's the constant. Like gravity. Those people did what they had to do because there wasn't any other way." Dr. Tal looked up from her tablet. "What happens when the pain is just yours? When there's no one else to save?" Travis let the question hang before answering, his voice even. "If you spend enough time on the edge, where pain is everything, you learn fast. The body quits before the mind does. Your choice is what matters. I don't let the pain decide who I am." Kithel nodded once. "Then we escalate the test. No invasive tools." He added quickly, "A challenge of function, judgment, and response under stress." Dr. Tal wheeled out a simulator panel, a dual-control rig used for disaster team training on Himari. On the screen, a mining rig crisis scenario, with feedback stimuli for every mistake, sharp noises, vibration, light flashes. "You have 10 minutes to maintain system integrity. Each failure increases difficulty." "Bring it on," Travis said, gritting his teeth as he took his place. One hand clutched his ribs. The screen blinked green, and the simulation began. Within seconds, Travis realized how badly hurt he was. His left arm, weakened by the drill injury, trembled with each motion. Turning the actuator sent hot stabs of pain through his ribs. When a simulated pressure breach siren screamed, he tensed so hard he almost collapsed. Then forced himself to focus. Sweat streaming down his face. Complications piled on, power failures. Oxygen dips. Simulated tremors. Travis adjusted. Hands shaking. Jaw clenched. At 7 minutes. His knees buckled and he nearly fell. Catching himself on the console. "We can stop," Kithel offered. His voice gentler now. Travis shook his head. "Stubborn. Not done. Your vitals are spiking. You're risking shock," Dr. Tal warned. "I know." A final surge of static crashed through the scenario. Travis took one shuddering breath. Forced his fingers to move. And the screen flashed blue, sequence complete. He collapsed onto the cot. Chest heaving. Hands trembling. The room was silent. Dr. Tal whispered. "He passed. He exceeded the simulation parameters." Travis managed a shaky laugh. "Told you." Dr. Tal crouched by him. "Running a scanner. You're severely dehydrated. Blood sugar's low. If you keep pushing, you'll crash. Just give me fluids. Something salty. But only because I earned it." Later, the students came not just to watch, but to ask questions, real questions. Full of curiosity. Even respect. They asked about nerve blocks. Old surgeries. Childbirth. Amputations. How long consciousness can last after catastrophic injury. Not out of mockery, but out of awe. Travis answered everything. Straight and unfiltered. He told them about a friend who kept joking after a rock slide pinned his leg. About a diver who reset his own shoulder underwater. About working a shift with both wrists sprained and still getting the job done. Pain, he told them, isn't the sign to stop. It's the signal to decide. By the end of the session, the students looked at him not as a test subject, but as a mirror, something they didn't understand, but wanted to. Even Kithel lingered by the door. Then quoted an old Earth saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or just more stubborn." Travis finished. Kithel nodded. "We will review today's session. There is much to reconsider." After the last round of observation, Travis was escorted out, no longer restrained. Not sedated, but limping on his own power. The healing room he entered was nothing like the theater, padded walls pulsing with soft color. Filtered sunlight through the ceiling. Travis was given a medbed. Leg braced. Shoulder in a sling. 4 fluids running. No hovering drones. Just silence and pain, a familiar pain. Muted by medication. But still his own. A young medical technician checked his vitals. Insectoid features calm and professional. Muscle regeneration underway. Soft tissue bruising will resolve in 8 days. The fracture must be monitored. Travis nodded. "Thanks." "You have visitors," the tech said. Then exited. 3 students entered, followed by Kithel and Dr. Dahl. None held datapads or scanners. One student stepped forward. Voice steady but eyes wide. "We studied 20 species. None reacted like you." Travis gave a faint smile. "We do ruin expectations." Kithel stood at the foot of the bed. Arms crossed. Posture formal. "You were not supposed to endure those procedures. Our models projected psychological collapse within the first cycle." "I figured as much," Travis replied. Dr. Dahl placed a hollow tablet on the table. Its display flickering with layered neural scans and vital records from the most intense moments. "All your neural patterns indicate extreme distress," she said softly. "Yet your decision-making never failed. You functioned within the pain. We've never recorded that." Travis shifted, wincing. "You wanted to prove we're fragile. But you misunderstood what our fragility really is." "And what is it?" Kithel asked. "We break. Easy. Sometimes. Our bones. Our skin, not as strong as some. But what matters is, we break and still keep crawling. Every species avoids pain. Humans? We learned how to carry it." Dr. Tal leaned in. "We saw that. But why now? Why keep going? After everything? Travis's voice was quiet. Because injuries don't heal in hours. The body takes time. You manage what you can. Do the work. And hope the pain backs off before your patience does. And if it doesn't, you keep moving anyway. A long, contemplative silence followed. Kithel finally spoke. I submitted a correction to our curriculum. Humans are no longer classified as pain-sensitive and neurologically limited. The new designation, adaptive. High tolerance. That's better, Travis said, smiling. Not quite accurate. But better. Dr. Tal frowned. Why not accurate? Because tolerance isn't what you think. It's not suffering less. It's what you do in spite of it. The closest student asked. Why laugh? Why make jokes? You said it helps others. But doesn't it help you, too? Travis considered. When pain's got you and you don't understand it, it owns you. But if you laugh, even a little, you take some of that power back. You remind yourself. This doesn't define me. Not today. Dr. Tal nodded slowly. Kithel motioned to the door. There's one more thing. 2 medical workers wheeled in a storage case. Travis eyed it warily. If that's another probe, I'm out. Kithel opened the case, revealing Travis's own battered belongings, torn shirt, utility boots, data pad, a weathered bracelet with Earth's emblem. I ordered them returned, Kithel said. Travis stared for a moment, then slipped the bracelet onto his wrist, fingers lingering over the worn metal. Thanks, he said. Kithel hesitated. You asked if this was a medical school. It is, but you've shown us the flaw in our approach. You're not weak, Travis. You're terrifyingly resilient. Not because your body resists damage, but because you refuse to surrender to it. Travis chuckled. Welcome to humanity. Dr. Tal tapped her tablet and gave him a final look before she and Kithel stepped out. You'll need at least 4 weeks for the leg. 6 to 8 for the shoulder. Ribs 4, if you don't push yourself too soon, she advised. Not unkindly, Travis lifted a brow. I'll take it easy. Not in a hurry to prove anything anymore. 10 days later, Travis walked unaided for the first time since his ordeal. He still limped, favored his right arm, and after 20 minutes of standing had to find a seat. But he was outside again, no longer a prisoner or a test subject, but a guest. A handful of students met him in the courtyard beneath the central dome. Notepad drones hovering discreetly at the edge of the grass. They didn't come to examine him, just to talk. They asked questions, real ones. Why do human children play games that hurt? Why do adults take risks? Climb mountains? Run races? Box? Jump out of ships for fun? Why do humans keep pushing, even when everything says stop? Travis answered them as best he could. We're not obsessed with pain, he explained. Just with what's on the other side of it. It's about learning who you are, what you can do, what you can survive. He talked about how children learn from scraped knees, about endurance runs in training camps, about loss, how humans mourn and heal. Sometimes slowly, always with effort. For the first time, he felt their curiosity was genuine. They saw him less as an outlier, more as a puzzle that might teach them something about themselves. Respect. That was the thing that finally took root. Not awe, not pity, just the basic recognition that comes from seeing someone go through hell and walk out the other side. Changed but not broken. Weeks passed, and when the interstellar transport finally docked, Travis was officially cleared to depart. On the hangar deck, as the bustle of departure preparations carried on around them, Kithel appeared, almost materializing from the crowd. You were right, Kithel said, skipping any formal greeting. Travis grinned, shouldering his small duffel. About what? The lesson wasn't about your weakness. It was about how little we understood. Travis stuck out a hand. After a pause, Kithel took it. Grip firm. Nod slow. There was no resentment in the gesture. Only a sober sort of camaraderie. No hard feelings, Travis said. There shouldn't be, Kithel replied. You've changed our entire understanding of endurance. Impact like that doesn't come from textbooks." Travis laughed softly. "Next time you run that class, tell them pain's not what defines us. It's what we choose to do after." The ship's ramp hissed shut behind him, sealing him inside. Travis, bruised, limping, still healing, looked back only once through the observation window at the cluster of students and doctors. He wasn't just leaving a laboratory, he was leaving a changed classroom. A place that would see humans differently from now on. The healing was slow but certain. Every day, the pain faded a bit more. Sometimes, it still came roaring back, aching ribs when he laughed too hard, twinges in his shoulder if he moved wrong. But now, it was just pain. Not an enemy or a measure of his weakness. He'd carried it, lived through it, and kept walking. The students would talk about Travis Cole for cycles to come. His neural scans, his test scores, his refusal to quit. But what stuck with them most wasn't the charts or the data. It was that moment in the simulator. Sweat pouring down his face, muscles shaking, body all but collapsing. And still, he finished. Not because it didn't hurt, but because stopping wasn't an option he accepted. In the end, it wasn't about who broke first, or who had the highest pain threshold. It was about the will to keep moving forward when your body screamed to quit. That was the lesson Travis left behind, an understanding that would reshape their models for years to come. The ship's engines rumbled to life. Travis settled into his seat, staring out at the streaks of starlight as the vessel left orbit. He thought of Earth, of old scars, of stories told in mining camps and between friends in recovery, of the dark humor that helped them all through. He wasn't a superhero, or even a soldier. He was just a stubborn human who refused to surrender his story to pain. Somewhere far behind, a class full of alien students started to understand what that really meant. And in that new silence, Travis Cole, still bruised but no longer fragile, finally allowed himself to rest.